Welcome to The Glitter Effect, a podcast dedicated to shining a light on the movers, shakers, change makers, and all-round living legends of our communities who are making a real difference. Today's guest on The Glitter Effect is someone whose story is as powerful as the legacy she continues to build. Kylie Pussell is the CEO and co-founder of the Miracle Babies Foundation, which is Australia's leading organisation supporting premature and sick newborns, their families, and the hospitals that care for them. What began as a very deeply personal journey for her, navigating the NICU with her own premature babies, the NICU being Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, it's grown into a national movement of hope, support, and advocacy. And under Kylie's leadership, Miracle Babies has touched thousands of lives over the years, and she's been championing better outcomes for vulnerable newborns and ensuring no family feels alone in their journey. Kylie is a passionate advocate, a proud mum, and a true community change maker. And her glitter, well, it's found in the way she transforms pain into purpose, lighting the way for others with empathy, courage, and an unstoppable drive. Kylie Pussell, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to The Glitter Effect.
Thank you so much for having me, Kate.
You're very welcome. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. Kylie, let's start and dive straight in. I didn't know anything about Miracle Babies Foundation before we connected. So please share with me and the listeners as well who aren't familiar with it. What is Miracle Babies Foundation, and tell us how it came about?
Yeah, we're a charity and we are a parent organisation. So we're not clinicians, we're not doctors or nurses or social workers. We're parents who have been through having their baby in the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. And that's a really different start to parenting than anyone can ever imagine. So it's quite isolating and lonely. So being able to connect and talk and share, your journey with other parents who are in similar situations is, completely life-changing and can normalise what you're going through. Because, you certainly don't have a pregnancy to expect, that your baby will be in NICU. So it's really, really a different experience. And we support families with peer support. So it's that connection, it's that, that hope, that, show the glitter, let it shine, that, there is an end to this and, can take baby home. And sadly, though, for those babies that don't get to go home, to be able to show the parents that there's still support out there and that they can still, be part of that community and, acknowledge and remember their baby as well.
And is it a national organisation, Kylie?
We are national, so we deliver services face-to-face in hospitals. We have a 24-hour support helpline for families as well, and we do nurture groups, which are planned support groups after the baby is discharged home. So keeping these families connected is really important. And then we provide resources as well for families while they're in hospital, as well as a whole huge range of other things like advocacy, and supporting hospitals with some financial support for equipment and things like that.
Amazing. It's incredible. And how long have you been going for? How many years?
Yeah, it's exciting. This year, in 2025, we've been 20 years. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's certainly been a long way, but we've learned and grown so much, which has just been amazing to be part of.
So you have a personal journey as to how you came to being part of Miracle Babies. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, sure. So I've got 3 surviving Miracle Babies, now all young adults. But definitely the parenting road for me was not easy. Had infertility issues and going through IVF, and had an early miscarriage at 10 weeks, then had they call it a midterm miscarriage, but you actually have to deliver when you're going to labour at 16 weeks. And then I was diagnosed with cervical incompetence, so with my next pregnancy. So I had emergency surgery when I was 22 weeks pregnant with her, which was on its own extremely scary, and spent 8 weeks in hospital on bed rest. And she came at 30 weeks and spent 6 weeks in the NICU. So that was our first experience of the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. It's not something I really even knew existed. It's all very much behind closed doors, and, the babies and families are quite protected in the clinical environment that way. So that was our first experience in the NICU, and it was during that time. And Madeline was only in for 6 weeks, so, quite a reasonable kind of hospital stay, but certainly not as severe as some families have it. And it was during that time that I actually made some lifelong friends. And 20 years on, we are still lifelong friends. And you don't realise, I think, in the moment, But until later, that support of having someone beside you that you can check in with every day, and just even though we're going through different things with our children, that support of having, having to go home every day and leave your baby there, not having your baby to establish breastfeeding, you're expressing your milk into a pump and your baby's being fed by a tube. So those bonding and normal parenting experiences aren't there in those early days and weeks. And those wonderful mums and families still lifelong friends today. So, that was certainly a big positive that I took out of that first NICU time.
That's amazing. And I suppose as well, whilst it is, like you say, everyone's on their own journeys, people get it if that's the case. You don't have to explain yourself. You can be you and people get it. And I think this is a space where, and this is why I really want to unpack this more, because it's a like you said, it's a parent-led organization. But you, from your lived experience, which, you're going through your own emotions with grief and all the other emotions attached to that, and now leading a national organization, that's a massive leap. It's supposed to be the happiest time of your life when you have a baby. What did the early days of the foundation look like? And did you ever imagine that it would grow to what it is today?
I don't think any of us saw what it could be in those early days. We were formed by an amazing group of mothers. We were all mums, and we had our own challenges, brought different experiences to the table, and from there we formed what we would have maybe thought supported us, or what we would have liked during that hospital journey. And it was definitely a lot. Like, everyone had different experiences. And then my next time in NICU, and this was just before Miracle Babies was formed, about 12 months in 2004, I had twins at 25 weeks, and my son passed away from his extreme prematurity at 2 days of life. So that moment, and then with my daughter being in the hospital then for another 4 months, and going through a lot of health challenges, and coming quite close to losing her as well, it was a really different NICU time for me. I was I think I isolated myself, to be honest. It was, you become that bereaved parent then, and it's scary, and it's hard to talk about. So really close bonds formed at that time, more so with the healthcare professionals, the nurses and doctors, because I was probably closing myself off to connecting with other families at that time.
Yeah.
But then when I came together and met all these other wonderful mums that had, their own unique stories as well, started to share a bit about, my experiences, and they obviously opened up with theirs. And that support network over those next few years was so healing. Like, I couldn't talk about, my experiences so openly, and certainly not without, kind of lots of tears and things like that. So it was certainly healing in a way that over those, 20 years, been able to find a way to make it part of my story, and to be able to help others that you can be okay again. It takes time, and it doesn't take away from the love and, that the time you had with your baby. But it's definitely a lifelong journey, and, grief never leaves you. It's always there. It's just how do you live each day with it as being part of you.
It's really, it's tough. And I was reading on your website that it said 48,000 newborns. Is that just in Australia, that statistic? It says 48,000 newborns require NICU or the nursery each year, and 27,000 of those are born premature, and up to 1,000 of those lose their fight for life. That's a huge statistic. And so do you cover all of those families, or is that you're just a chunk of that, and then you want to build to be able to support all of those families as well? Is that?
Yeah, it is big numbers. And as we said at the start, it's life-changing. So for these families, navigating through this as they start to parenting, or sometimes it might be, their second or third child where they're going to NICU, and you're navigating then dealing with a child or a toddler at home.
Yep.
So that's a whole nother layer of stress and emotions you never thought you'd, kind of go through. We partner with hospitals, so we try and support the families that are in the hospital at that time, and connecting with as many as we can, and with the helpline as well. So we don't have the funds or the resources to be in every single hospital right now, but we're certainly, expanding to support more families, and that's growing year on year. And it's such an important part for the hospitals as well to be able to offer these peer programs, because they can see the benefits, of peer support as well.
And it must alleviate the pressures to some degree on them to be able to actually do their work with the baby and the families, and then you guys are helping with that emotional side and everything else as well. So working together, it sort of makes it easier, and if that's the right term to use, I'm not sure it is, but just to make it easier to work together as a team with the family to get to where they need to get to. Is that what you find when you work directly with the healthcare professionals?
Yeah, completely right. We can bring that experience, that lived experience, and that shared connection that a lot of the healthcare professionals can't. So while
Yeah.
they're focusing on the clinical care and doing everything they can for baby and supporting mum with breast milk and things like that, we can provide that emotional connection. So we can help those parents that aren't confident and are shy and don't and can't speak up or ask questions. We can help them navigate how to be that advocate for themselves and their child, because a lot of these babies will go home with some ongoing challenges.
Yeah.
And as parents, it's hard sometimes to say, I need some help, or, my child needs this help. So to help them find their voice, their parent voice, I think is something that's key to this as well, so that they can be, as I said, the best advocates for themselves and their children.
Yeah, that's great. And you said, so the role of community and the parents, as you said, is absolutely central to what you do at Miracle Babies. Why is community so important, particularly for families of premature and sick newborns? And how have you seen it make a difference in particular over the years? Because that may have changed from when you first started the foundation to now, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think our community's always been a huge part. I mean, we're talking about, 8 to 10% of babies each year. So that's still a small amount of families that are directly impacted in regards to having that baby in there. But it's their community around them. It's their parents, their grandparents, their sisters, brothers, friends, work colleagues. It's that whole community that really needs to have an awareness as well, so that they can best support that family. And, it's long been said, it takes a village, and, village and community to me are kind of the same. So it's so important, and we need that larger community to be able to help us, fundraise and raise awareness, and inform the others in the community of how this family might need some help. And yeah, it's vital to everything we do, community.
Yeah, and you just touched on that. Funding, as we know, is critical and often can be quite stressful as part of sustaining any not for profit. And I'm sure you're not exempt from this at Miracle Babies. How do you navigate the world of grants and fundraising, donor relations, and what have been the biggest struggles and successes in keeping Miracle Babies going financially? I'm tipping that you don't get any government funding.
No regular
No.
ongoing government funding, unfortunately, not from lack of trying, that's for
Yeah.
sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely something that we believe should be more highlighted and valued by governments, because we, especially now being around 20 years, we've established really good relationships with hospitals and healthcare professionals. We've got world-leading programs. Like, our programs are talked about globally about how good they are and how much benefit and impact they make.
Mm.
And yet we're so limited by how many families we can support and help in the moment, because we don't have enough staff to go out and do that. And we have a really great, national volunteer base as well. But volunteers can only volunteer limited amount of time as well.
Yep.
We all have to, usually work, or we might have family obligations. So it's definitely something that is, I guess, a bit limiting for us, like with the demand that hospitals and families need this support. So that is frustrating. But definitely over the years there, yeah, has been some hairy moments where fundraising and things are tough. It is
Mm.
a really tough gig, fundraising. But once again, we're very lucky that we have a wonderful community that do support us, and great partners in that. But yeah, we often say here in the office as a team, the more funding we have, the more families we can help. So it's kind of like hand in hand. You need both sides to be working really well. So the more funding you have, then the more people you can have going out to support families in hospitals and community.
That's that catch-22, isn't it?
Definitely.
And you co-founded the foundation in 2005, is that right?
Yes, so
Yeah.
one of an amazing group of mums, and came together. The word got out from the hospital, and yeah, I remember walking into that room and only knowing one other mum, but just hearing the family stories of what they'd been through, and yeah, that healing and that peer support. Like, it just became so important over those next few years. I think for all of us, especially in the
Yeah.
early days as our children were still young, and going through their development years, and ongoing challenges, and then starting school.
That's huge. And then, so you've now moved on. So you co-founded, and then you moved on, and you have been CEO since 2017. Is that right? If my research is right?
Yes, that's right. So I
Yeah.
went into CEO in 2017, and yeah, it's been amazing, I guess. I don't come with an MBA. I don't come with, that business or CEO experience. So it's definitely been a lot of on the job learning. But I think for me, I lead with my heart, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I turn up and to be kind, to be compassionate, to have empathy for these families because I have been there, and driving those parent programs is, I guess, yeah, my purpose. And I think that's how I shine my glitter, I hope.
Yeah, you do. And that was, you've actually taken my next question, because I was actually going to ask, because you wear many hats as mums do. But you in particular, because you're a leader, a very selfless leader, a mother, an advocate, and everything else that you do on just a day-to-day basis. How on earth do you juggle all that and remain sort of okay? Or do you take step backs?
It's a
Do you
good
have
question,
to,
isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
I am very lucky. I do have a wonderful family and good support, and my family's kind of spread around. So I've got my mum, in regional New South Wales, so I get to go there and have time out on the farm there and just to kind of chill and relax and regroup. And my sister's down in Victoria, so same again in regional, so I get to go there and same again, just relax and chill. So I'm very lucky with that. I've got a very supportive family, and yeah, and I guess it's just taking that time out when you need it,
mm,
to be able to breathe, and that's okay. Everyone does need to recharge. So yeah, for me, recharging is the country fresh air. So do that as
perfect.
much as I can. But yeah, I don't know, we just do, don't we? As mums and as women, we just do. We just do what needs to be done most of the time, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, it does. But for you, another added element where you're carrying other people's grief as well, carrying, again, I don't know if that's the right word, but you're speaking to people who are grieving and helping them through that process and their own journeys, whilst you've still got your own journey that you're going on. And, as you say, grief never leaves you. It must be, are there times when you're talking to families where it just brings that grief to the forefront again because it's a very similar journey that you've been on? Or is it something that you can sort of just deal with that family at that time, and not get too emotional in it? Do you ever find yourself getting emotionally attached, or?
Yeah, look, it's always there. And I mean, in those moments, we're there to support the families. So,
Yeah.
you put the focus onto them, but it definitely does impact me still. Yeah, of course.
Mm,
And all of our team that take, those calls or see those families in hospitals, because it's just a reminder of how precious life is.
mm,
And when you're going through such unexpected grief, I think, no one thinks your baby's going to pass away. So when you go into such unexpected grief, it it leaves you feeling so empty and so broken.
mm,
And there's no quick fix, no real answer like to that, So being able to sit with them, I think, is part of the special thing that we can bring to those families, because grief is a really hard thing to talk about, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with it. So for us, as hard as it is for us, but to be able to sit there with someone in their darkest moment and just be there,
mm,
knowing that we can't fix it, but just having someone there is, yeah, I just think is so important. And yeah, sometimes you don't need words. It's just
yeah.
having someone there who can sit with you without trying to fix it and fill the silence or the voids with words that sometimes can hurt and harm more than do good. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that we focus on a lot, is just sometimes being able to just be there,
Yeah.
when no one else can, and that's hard. And yeah, I mean, it's been for us, like my daughter just turned 21 a few months ago, so for us it's 21 years since we got to hold our son,
Mm,
and that that pain never goes,
mm.
because it's further away from him.
Yes,
As
yes.
time goes on, it's further away that we got to spend time with him.
Yeah. And that's really good advice, though, what you're saying about that. And I think as humans, we feel that we have to fix everything as well, don't we? If you've got that heart, you always feel like you need to fix things, or you can fix things, that sometimes you just can't. And it's just like you say, just that presence and being there is just enough in that moment. Yeah, I think that's really important. That's my takeaway anyway. I feel that's very powerful. That's hit me in the heart. um you started, we're sort of back and forthing actually now, because I'm now got lots more different questions. You started very small through, was it in the Liverpool region, is that New South Wales? through, obviously that's your local hospital. What and then you've obviously expanded beyond that across the country over only 20 years, and that, you know, that's incredible. That's huge. What is next for Miracle Babies?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. We're in a really exciting time right now in regards to being able to support more families. So we've since since about 2020, we've brought in some new programs and we've started to focus on the whole life of these babies and families.
Mm,
It's not just those early development years. So much research and information is out now about the long-term impacts for these babies. And, you know, I'd go to conferences and, you know, we talk in here and it's like, well, we're learning all these things, but how are the families across Australia knowing these risk factors, and maybe they can make different choices that could reduce those risk factors, and just that information and awareness. So we launched our information hub in 2020 and it continues to just grow. It covers right now through to adulthood.
mm,
And it's just continuously growing with more suggestions from families. You know, oh, you haven't got anything on this condition. Can you get that sorted? So it's constantly growing. And then it also brought about, I think, a new kind of model of care for our programs in hospital. So where we were visiting hospitals, you know, 3 hours a week or, you know, 2 sessions of 3 hours a week, it's a lot of families that we're not seeing
yeah.
because some families might go in the morning or the afternoon or the evening. So there was so much gaps there that we could see, and it was like, how do we fix this? So we worked on developing our new model of care, I guess, and it's in the hospital 3 days a week. So we have a worker go in or a volunteer 15 hours to the hospital unit to the NICU, and they're there and they're just being part of the family journey. Instead of checking in once a week, it's actually, you know, so much more. The relationships are stronger. The feedback so far from healthcare professionals has been just wonderful to hear, like the connections that we can help these families ask those questions, make those meetings, share those triumphs, you know, share the milestones when they do things
Mm,
like Bub's put on weight this week, you know, those, those little things are really big things in the NICU, you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and being able to be there and have that same support person right through and not having to continuously tell your trauma, if that make, you know what I mean, like
Yes.
retelling
Yeah.
of the trauma. So
Yeah.
we're actually helping them, you know, progress through the hospital time, and then that support continues on if they come to the play and support groups after discharge, because it's the same person again. So it's that real continuity of care, and we're being able to roll that out into more hospitals at the moment. And yeah, I really strongly believe the impact is just going to be huge in regards to those families that we once were missing. Hopefully we can, you know, build stronger relationships and support networks for them.
That's amazing. That's so good. I love that. And I love the fact there's future looking forward as well. It's such a important thing to do in any space, and in particularly in this space, because it's not going away. If anything, we need to have more support in this space, as you say. As you know, we're called the Glitter Effect, and we talk a lot about the people who come on, about who's inspired them, and we like to call everybody, or I do, like to call them glitter kings and queens or glitter royalty. Who is there anyone who has inspired you or supported you the most along the way? Who's your biggest, I suppose, cheerleader or inspiration?
I think there's probably quite a few that I could put into that category, but I think certainly my parents
Yeah,
were a very close family. So certainly my mum and dad, they were both all very community focused while we were growing up. We were parts of lots of committees and, you know, volunteers on lots of different things. So we grew up in that environment. And yeah, it's just, I think the way we were built, like I was president of our local netball club, my sister the same where she lives. So we're just, yeah, very much about giving back and being part of that community, and you know, forming those relationships and friendships. Like I love that about everything that I do, that I get to meet so many wonderful people. So definitely my parents, I think. And then during, I guess, my early parenting days, I'd have to say all the families that I met through Miracle Babies were certainly a huge part. A couple of superstar, amazing lifetime, I think, friends.
yeah,
Quite a few fall into that category. And then I think as I get older, I think my children.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. You've got, you said 3 children,
Yes, yeah.
and how old are they now?
Nearly 24, 21, 18. So
Yeah,
they're all left school, they're all
yeah.
working. Um, but yeah, just what they continue, constantly proud of them, you know, they continue to, you know, reach their goals and keep dreaming, and yeah.
That's great. That's important. That's so important. And so the glitter effect is all about what we call those sparkly, small but mighty acts of kindness, compassion, and connection that ripple outwards. What does the glitter effect mean to you? Because everyone has a different idea of it. And how have you seen it show up in the work that you do?
think I think for me, and I hope that's how other people see me, is I think the glitter shines through for me with kindness.
Mm.
Everyone has a story, everyone can be going through something, and we've all done it. We've put on the brave face, and we turn up and we do what we have to do, but sometimes we're broken, and I think always being kind, because if it's just such a simple thing that if we all do and all do every day, we'll hopefully all go home and have a happy day at work, but also have a happy day at home. And even in those moments where they're not happy moments, with some of these families and around grief, kindness again is just, for me, the core, the center.
That's and it is important. I've got 3 boys, and exactly that's my thing. My big mantra to them every day is, if you can be nothing, be kind, because kindness goes a long, long way beyond that you will ever know. You won't know where it's gone, but just a smile, just a hello is enough to change someone's trajectory on their day. So just start that. But yeah, and I think they're starting to teach that more and more in schools, which I love. So it'll be interesting to see what the future communities look like. Wrapping up now, if anyone wants to make a difference or get involved in Miracle Babies, how can they do that?
Multiple ways. We embrace our community and supporters. We love having events and things to go and meet them and and have those enjoyable moments. But you can just head to the website. There's lots of ways you can get involved. It's miraclebabies.org.au. You can make a one-off donation. You can sign up to be a regular giver. You can volunteer at our events. We have a wonderful event coming up in September in Sydney, and this time in Perth as well. So we're spreading it out to Perth in WA. The Miracle Moonwalk. So it's about a 10K family-friendly walk. Bring the prams. And it's just a great way for everyone to turn up, have fun, support each other, and raise awareness in those fundraising efforts as well about the work we do and the families that we support.
That's amazing. And I actually saw on your website is, can you remind our listeners what your website is?
miraclebabies.org.au.
If you do nothing else, jump on there and have a look through. I just couldn't stop reading as soon as I started. And then one of the things that you can help with as well, it's the sewing and knitting.
Yes.
I love that. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we get lots of donations here to the office and to hospitals. So a lot of the babies in some hospitals, they can't maintain their body temperature, so they may wear booties and beanies and things like that. And we also give beanies and knitted items in our resource packs, because it's a keepsake for families, so that that's that for their baby, they can take that home. We do also provide a resource for our bereaved families, a memory box. So in that, our volunteers knit matching hearts or matching little teddy bears, and the aim of that is that one can be with baby and one can be with the parents and things like that. So, and blankets, memory blankets, so same again, one set for the parents and one for baby. So yeah, really important things that anyone like knitting and sewing people can do, and yeah, all those donations are always greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. You are incredible, Kylie, and I really do appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. That's Kylie Pussell, CEO and co-founder of Miracle Babies Foundation, who has joined us today on The Glitter Effect. Kylie, your passion, your vulnerability, and unwavering commitment to supporting families through what is one of the most challenging journeys of their lives with a premature or sick baby is beyond moving. I actually have no words to describe it. I think you've really just expressed yourself extraordinarily well today, and I applaud you for what you're doing, and thank you for sharing today. Your story and the work of Miracle Babies is the definition of community in action, and you are a true glitter queen who leads with heart. Thank you for your time, and we wish you all the very best with what's to come with your personal life and with Miracle Babies. Take care.
Oh, thank you so much for your kind words. And I've loved chatting with you today. So yeah, thank you for your time too.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me, Kate Ganneil, on The Glitter Effect. If you've loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep showing up, making an impact, and sprinkling that glitter wherever you go. Bye for now.